Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Welcome to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee, where some of us are at home and some of us are in a better place. With me is my co-host,
Chris Marriott, wondering what this better place is, because I'm at home too.
In Fairhope, Alabama.
I'm in our other place, and it is a better place, I guess, in fairness, though it still is home.
Well, it's a different place, right? There's people that love Chicago, and people who love the Alabamas. Either way, right. It's great to have you on board, Chris.
It's great to be here with you this week, and we got a great show lined up. We're very excited.
Yeah. Spectacular show. Our guest is really amazing, and I think our listeners are going to absolutely love her.
Yeah, me too.
As always, our show is brought to us by
Email Connect, where all of your RFP needs are met, as including a great contract. So if you're a brand and you're thinking, I need to look around in 2021 at new possible partners, email partners, your first call should be to us, Email Connect LLC.
And also brought to you by Audience Point with our new product we've been really sort of heads down working on called List Fit. It's really been exciting and cool lately. We've run into really fantastic email marketers who are struggling with deliverability, which is not all that unusual. What's cool, though, is we've built some tools that really help get you out of jail quickly. And it's pretty remarkable. It's been cool working with people who get it and are like, how do we help marketers? So we're giving it away. Not completely giving it away, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's get people sort of stabilized, and we can establish the relationship that way. And so that's been really fun to meet marketers, learn what they're dealing with, help them fix it, and then develop a longer term relationship. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's Audience Point, that's List Fit, our two sponsors, plus Email Connect. We got a great show.
So let's get right to it. We'll see you after the show with producer David.
Welcome back to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. We're with one of my longtime industry friends, Gilda Hilaire. I think I said your last name right, Gilda. Is that now is the time to correct me?
It is correct.
Okay, good.
It is.
Gilda is been a long-term sort of brand marketer, kind of played every role in the industry. And now she is kind of evangelist, consumer advocate. She's a friend of the marketer for Salesforce, and is I think really blossoming into that role. And I think a lot of Marketing Cloud customers really see her as an ally in the mix. And so glad to have you today, Gilda.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
With me is my forever friend, Chris Marriott. Gilda, one thing we usually start with, just in general, is we talk about, it is Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Now, it's not always coffee. We're not always at home.
And it's not always in the morning.
But we kind of go around the horn and talk about what we're drinking. What do you have today, Gilda? Or are you drinking anything?
I am. I actually have tea.
Nice. What kind of tea are you drinking?
Oh, it was just peppermint tea.
Okay. Do you?
I had coffee earlier though.
Yeah.
We planted an herb garden this summer, and part of the COVID, I think every family did, right? And we started making peppermint tea just off the leaves. It was super fun. The kids loved it.
See, I can't grow anything in my yard. I have bunnies, gophers, wild turkeys, coyotes, raccoons, deers.
Wow. Now you're up in Boston area, yes?
Up in Boston. I live in Dedham, but behind my house is just it's a wooded area. So I can't even have flowers. Oh, and I forgot chipmunks. So
right.
and owls and bats. And hawks.
A full complement of wildlife, most of which producer David would be very nervous around. So
that is true.
It's Sherwood Forest. They have to pay me rent for living on my property.
Producer David hates wild animals. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, he really does not. Well, they make him nervous. I mean, it's just, they make him nervous.
They make me nervous.
Chris, what are you drinking today?
I've had several cups of Santo Domingo coffee.
So glad.
From the Dominican Republic. But I'm now that it's midday here, I'm enjoying once again some ugly flavored water from our previous guest, Ugly Hugh. So Hugh, if you're watching, I'm still a fan. And still enjoying your product.
He watches every week, Chris. I mean, he's calling and texting, trying to give tips on how we can improve all this stuff. Exactly. Well, I'm just drinking black coffee today. It is out of our Rock espresso maker. It's a just kinetic, 100% kinetic espresso maker. I'll grab it. I'll show you real quick. I had a moment this week where I had a friend say, I bought the exact same thing because it looks so cool on your counter.
That does look cool.
Fantastic espresso. So there you go.
Well, when you say kinetic, I was doing some research this week, as I'm wont to do, on what a heat pump is in an HVAC system. And I learned that heat pump operates on the thermodynamics indicate or one of the things around a heat air pump, and you following the rules of thermodynamics, is the more you compress air, the hotter it gets.
Right, which is something is a mantra I live by, Chris.
Right. So when you say kinetic espresso maker, does that mean it starts with cold water, compresses it?
Oh, no. That would be even cooler. No, Chris.
That would be cool.
So you see this here, we've got our portafilter, right? And it's even still got coffee grounds in it. And it's got this chamber where you put hot water in, and then those arms push the hot water down and through. Now, not to be all nerd on you about coffee, but there's a standard temperature that you want to brew coffee at. It's about 212 degrees. And so if you put boiling water in at 255 and it's already heated up, they figured it out. So it's pretty close to that perfect range. So if you have the right coarseness of ground, you get perfect espresso every time. And it's not one of those sort of plug-in things that ends up in the landfill. Again, this is Hippie Paul talking, and I'm sorry, Hippie Paul, but for me, it drives me nuts. Like we had that you plug it in, home espresso maker, and we would use it a lot. But the thing is, they would just, they'd fizzle out and break after about a year or two because we'd use it so much.
And I'm sure the taste is different, right? With this.
Yeah. I mean, you get the oils out of espresso, which is kind of what people want, and I like the taste of. And so by not having that plug-in things to break, when it breaks, you just take a screwdriver and fix it. It's super easy. Love it. So,
well, you're very handy with tools, as we've learned.
I don't know if that's true. Anyway, let's get into the meat. People don't want to hear me talk about coffee. They don't want to hear you
talk about thermodynamics.
Right. I mean, the people do want to hear that. I mean, that's honestly the number one topic people comment on things is, we want Chris to talk more about thermodynamics, but they're here
today.
Today because we have Gilda with us. And so Gilda, there's so many things I'd love to talk about, because honestly, I think about all the times we've gotten together, and I always walk away going, man, I wish I had more time with that lady because you, right?
Yeah.
You worked the brand side for a long, long time, and now you're over at Salesforce.
Yeah, 14 years.
You've not been at Salesforce for 14 years.
No, I was a brand side for 14 years. 14 years on the brand side. Customer focused just on Salesforce, all things Salesforce marketing. Well, back then it was Exact Target.
Correct.
Back in the day.
Back in the day was the Exact Target, the email marketing solutions tool.
Yep.
And I would scare people when I tell them, I said, that was back in the day when we had WYSIWYG. We had AIM, right? We had to impersonate other accounts. People forget how far we've gone.
Right. Right. It's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
So what prompted the move from brand side over to Salesforce? I have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
Can I state my theory first and
Yes.
then confirm it? Okay. Here's what I think. Every time I've ever spent time with you, this is back when you were brand side, I'd be like, this is kind of what we're working on. You'd be like, okay, hold on. I just texted the architect of that thing. It'll be fixed on Monday. So here's what I think here's why I think that your energy, your charisma, who you are, Salesforce saw and went, we want that. And you were like, your check's cash. Come on. How close am I?
Very close. Because Salesforce presented the opportunity. I love being on the brand side, and I don't want anyone to think that I didn't enjoy being on the brand side. But what I was more passionate about being on the brand side is to meet awesome people like yourself, and to be able to connect you with, with some of the folks within Salesforce. For me, it's all about the community, right? I'm very passionate about the Salesforce community, the marketing cloud community, but not just Salesforce. I have to say the email community in general, right? And I've always considered myself a unicorn because it's not just Salesforce. I've dabbled in other platforms like Marketo and Silverpop, right? Yes Mail, which I think was Yes Marketing or something. So I consider myself a unicorn. So I'm just passionate about the community. So the opportunity to continue working with the community, and they call me the handler, right? Because I connect the dots. I like connecting people with people. Right. I like helping solve problems, right? And I love just amplifying the work of others. And the opportunity to do that within the brand and it not conflicting with being on the brand side, I had to give it up.
Well, you were doing that already. That's the thing, right? Like that was just, again, it's sort of part of your DNA, right? Let me help you.
It is.
And yeah.
What exactly is it that you do with Salesforce?
Yes. Gilda, what do you do?
What is your job? What is your title? What do you do?
So I am a senior product marketing manager, but my product is not the product. I always say my product is the community. Yeah. I consider myself a community evangelist. I'm not selling you, Chris, or Paul. I'm not selling the product to you. I want to make sure that you understand how to use the product, right? So a couple of things that I do is I host webinars, and I have, the SMEs of the community, right? Be panels on live webinars, that is. And I, they will, educate you on features and functionalities, best practices, how they use it, share tips and tricks. Or I'll have a product manager from Salesforce present on a topic that, that's brewing, right? That's getting a lot of feedback in the
brewing.
Community.
I see what you did there.
Brewing. So that's what that is, part of my role is it's not product. The community is my, your happiness is my product. You will keep me up. If Chris sent me a note and said, Gilda, I am disturbed by X, Y, and Z, that would keep me up at night.
Okay.
Right. Well, so I'm just going to throw out a couple webinar ideas for you, right? One webinar idea might be email podcasts in the industry where you talk to email podcasts, because there's like a million of them now.
There are a million of them.
There's a million of them. And actually, I think earlier this year, some of the email geeks, right? I proposed to them, right? The thing is, there's a million of them, but the millions that are out there, are they talking to the right people, right? You can't be what you can't see. Like for me, I'd want a platform where developer talks to architects, right? Yep. Because imagine if you're somebody that's just graduating from you're in high school, right? You're a senior in high school, or you're a senior in your
marketing degree,
right?
something.
Marketing degree.
Yeah.
You don't know what a developer does or an architect, right? Because schools, they don't tell you. They don't go into the weeds of it, right? They're only scratching the surface and giving you that high level. I'd love a platform for developers to use their voice and to help educate and provide a little bit more meat to what I do. What's my day-to-day life look like?
Well, and I think that so much of that is, it's both the role, right? Like, we graduate, I have my degree in marketing and I'm going to be great.
Right. I'm good. You're going to be six-figure great, right?
Right. And then you get there and you're like, wait, this is really hard. I don't even know. Like, you get into this junior level role and you're like, this is hard. And this is not anything what I talked about. It's not until 5 to 10 years later that you start touching the stuff that you learned in college, right? And so then, but when you're coming out, you're like, it's not just role, like, am I a developer? Because a lot of times you don't even know that you're good at that or like that until you're given the opportunity to do it, right?
And nobody wants to give a junior that sort of role, right? I want you to dive into like server-side JavaScript and CSS, and nobody wants to give a junior that opportunity. But it would be great if a junior person had a mentor like Paul or Chris who could help guide them, and they can hear their story and understand what that career trajectory look like, so that it doesn't take that junior person 5 years to get there. Can't we shave that 3 years off if they're given the right information? So that's what I'm passionate about, and I'd love to see more of the community have that same passion and figure out, like, how do we help our younger selves?
And can I just throw a follow-up question on that? And do we really think it's a good idea for Paul or Chris to mentor anyone? You know what I mean?
I was going to say, we've been sort of trying to do that with producer Dave, but I'm not sure people would judge that a smashing success.
Right. I think most people, this is what most people are doing. I don't even know why they're still talking. You know what I mean?
Why doesn't producer Dave get his own show?
Right.
I want to jump on something because you mentioned Email Geeks, and I would be hugely remiss if I didn't ask you the following question. Email Geeks, the community of Email Geeks that Paul and I are members of, has a Slack channel and does all the various or a Slack group with various channels on Slack, really divided by both role and type of question.
Right.
Just this week, Salesforce, your company, bought Slack for $27 billion. Now, that's the third highest amount paid ever for it in a technology acquisition, and comes on the heels of several other acquisitions that Salesforce has done over the years. So I guess my question to you is, what's the scuttlebutt at Salesforce around that acquisition? What are people talking about? What gets people at Salesforce excited about that?
I'm just going to add something on here to the full question. I'm guessing this is how it went down. Benioff called you and he's like, hey, Gilda, should I buy Slack? And you're like, yeah, you should. I mean, is that, how accurate am I on that too? I mean, not to hijack your question.
I think it was Paul. I think it was more like, Gilda, should I buy Slack or Audience Point?
Right. Yeah. That's.
And we know it's obvious what she answered.
Right. No, and I would too.
Right.
I wish. I mean, for me, like, I use Slack all the time. Yeah. I get caught up in, I have 15 plus Slack groups that I'm part of. I think Slack is a great communication tool, and I just think that Salesforce is just looking for another vehicle, another platform where, they could continue to bring the community together. And I think Slack is
a brilliant move. It's a brilliant move because Salesforce is so focused on community, right? Yeah, like, just this is part of who they are, what they do. And that's sort of part of just their pedigree, their DNA. This is what they do. They drive community forward. And Slack is one of those tools that sort of enables that.
Salesforce is all about the community. And besides driving the community forward, like, one of the things that I love that they do, and I'm trying to think of ways in 2021 to promote it, is, when you look at Trailhead, the fact that, even if you don't know the platform at all, you could log into Salesforce and you could take trails, right? Which are like snippets of, ways to really uplift your own personal brand. It has nothing to do with Salesforce. And I tell people that all the time. If you're interested in learning, like, what is marketing, what is finance, what is a developer or architect, you can go to Trailhead and you could take these different modules, right? And it'll help educate you, and just take your brand. And it's all about your brand to the next level.
Talk a little bit more about this trailhead. Of what
Talk to us about the trailhead.
Let's not assume that everybody knows of what you speak.
That's true. That's very much a part of the culture of Salesforce that you may not know if you're not part of it.
Yeah, so Trailhead is just another fun way to learn, right? To learn in-demand skills. And what it is just modules, right? Like I said, if you're interested in becoming a marketer, and again, in college and even in high school, I knew I wanted to be in marketing, but I didn't know what the heck marketing was, right? I always thought it was just ads. And my first job out of college was John Hancock, and then I went to Johnson & Johnson. It wasn't until Johnson & Johnson I truly started to understand what it means to be a marketer, a brand marketer, and then shifted to being an email marketer. What Trailhead does is it gives you that upper hand, where if you're in college right now, you could go in and you could log into Trailhead and you could learn about all the different snippets of what it means to be a marketer, right? An email marketer. You can learn about email marketing. You can learn about deliverability. You can learn about being an architect or an admin, right? And take all these modules. And then after the modules, there's like a couple of questions just to quiz to make sure that you were paying attention to the videos and the copy that you're just learning. I mean, I love it. I wish it was available 14 years ago when I started using ExactTarget.
Right.
So where does one log into Trailhead?
So to log into Trailhead, you would just have to go to Trailhead, I think it's trailhead.salesforce.com.
Yeah,
okay, trailhead.salesforce.com. Folks, you heard it here first.
I don't think they heard it here first. I don't think this was a scoop. Was this a scoop? Did we get a scoop?
I think it was a scoop. I think.
Yes, everyone, you heard it here first. Anything you've heard before about this Trailhead thing, lies. You heard it here first.
Salesforce.trailhead.com.
Close.
There you go.
Close.
You're welcome. You're welcome, world. You're welcome.
And you know what? It's free.
Yep.
That's the most important thing. It's free.
You know what? And I'm guessing up until today, it's been there's been a subscription price, but as a special offer, our audience,
You're welcome.
We were brewing this up for you guys. It's free.
So make sure to tell them Email Geeks at Home sent you, and Trailhead is free forever.
Use offer code Chris Marriott Alabama for special offers. Gilda, I wanna sort of look at that community concept a little bit, maybe from a different angle. And we talked a little bit about this kind of before we started recording, but that's around sort of the employee community. I know that as the pandemic hit and everyone's freaked out about losing their jobs, one of the things that really impressed me was Salesforce was hiring. They were investing in people at that point when other people were pulling back. And I thought that was really, really cool. And I want to mention that as part of this bigger discussion. They see what they're doing within Salesforce in terms of community as pivotal. So they spend a lot of time on sort of what it's like, the culture of the community. So talk for a second about what it's like to have a family within Salesforce. Talk about because you are somewhat remote and also have office locations. Talk about what the life is like on the other side of the Salesforce fence, the ones we don't get to see.
Well, the thing for me is what's important is to work for an organization that really understand. Well, first of all, I'm a single mom. And I have a 16-year-old. So working for an organization that it's not just written, how some companies you work for, it's written that the values is that they support family, but they don't put it into action. But what I love about Salesforce is they mean they mean what they say, right? So supporting the community, supporting family, giving back, volunteering.
Yep.
You know, you hear Mark Benioff say that a lot of his keynotes, and it's written on the site. But I can honestly say, and not because I work for Salesforce, like they mean what they say when it comes to, you know, volunteering the community, supporting your family. I know my family, I feel very supported by Salesforce, especially during the COVID, you know, during the pandemic that we were in. It's not just COVID, but we had a lot of things happen in 2020 that really shook the entire world, right? So not just COVID, there are other things that happened that impacted us all. And I have to say, Salesforce stepped up, and the support wasn't just through email, but the support was take the time that you need to be with your family. If that means shifting your schedule so that you're there for your kids, then do that. You know, no meeting Fridays. You know, they tried to figure out fun ways to bring us all together, whether it was, you know, just a lunch hour where we would all get together during team meetings, things like that. They were still trying to figure out ways to virtually give back to the community. So although we couldn't physically go out there, you know, to do some of the drives or to volunteer at some of the schools and other volunteer activities, Salesforce still figured out a way for us to programmatically give back to the community virtually, which I absolutely love. So it's not just written, like it's not written and it's not something they say at the big keynote, which
Right.
Right. They're trying to soften it up, but they actually, you come here like, wow, they actually mean what they say. Like, I don't feel bad if I say, okay, I have to log off at 12 because my daughter has a doctor's appointment.
Right.
It's just family first.
I like that. Well, I think one of the things that drew me to you in the beginning is
hair. It's the hair. No, that's
I mean, yes, of course it's the hair. There's no question. I've been trying to get my hair.
Sorry, listeners, you can't actually see it, but it is epic. So
no, I'm thinking about we met up at a Dreamforce event.
We did.
I think we were drinking coffee together because that's what we do.
Yeah, we were the last two standing too.
Right.
Remember?
Yes.
I think it's like 2 years ago. Dreamforce they were wrapping things up, and you and I just walking around,
right,
coffee, as though they were shutting down Moscone.
Right. Well, but what I remember from that meeting, but other times too, because we've met up before,
Mm-hmm.
I remember you talking about your daughter with just great compassion, and I would say in a way that I talk about my kids as well. Mm-hmm. And so when I was like, okay, we are kindred spirits, right? Mm-hmm. Like this, so hearing that Salesforce is supporting you makes me happy. Like, and knowing that there are people like you at Salesforce that is also being supported, I'm like, that's a model I want to promote, right? Mm-hmm. I want other businesses to see that and go, yeah, that's what we need to do, right? Yeah. And I think there are there's up and coming businesses that I think there's a new model that's a little bit on the horizon right now of tech, of businesses that are saying we need to support family life balance, right? Yes, it's important that we have a fiduciary responsibility, that we return money back to sort of investor shareholders. But if we burn out our people to get there, what did we do?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of organizations that are burning out their people. I mean, I remember years ago working for an organization that frowned on working from home. Right. And I sit back now and I'm like, I wonder if they're frowning now. Right? Like you can't.
Who got the last laugh now?
Or being at places where if my daughter had a doctor's appointment, I would beg the doctor's office to make the appointment at 5 or 6 just because I didn't. Right. I just couldn't imagine saying, oh, I have a doctor's appointment. I have to bring my daughter at 1. I have to leave early. I was like, I'd feel ashamed to do so. And is that bad? But it happened and it continues to happen. But now, in the state that we're in, I'm just hoping that a lot of companies are a little bit more lenient and understanding of everyone's current situation.
Right. I mean, that alarm that just went off was my daughter has a Zoom call in 5 minutes that she's supposed to be on. You know what I mean? Like, and I set the reminder on my phone for her that like this is the new world, at least right now.
Mhm.
And Chris, you want to say something?
Yeah, I got another fun Mark Benioff question. With the the vast adoption since the pandemic, I think and Paul and I have talked about this on other episodes. With the vast adoption of video conferencing, I mean, nobody, to me, it seems archaic. I had a my company used a voice conferencing sharing system, and we dropped it, a couple months in and got us a plan on Zoom because it almost seems weird not to see people you're talking to now. And 2 years ago, a year ago, that wasn't the case. So my question is, do you think Mark Benioff late at night wakes up in a sweat and says, why didn't I buy Zoom before the pandemic hit? Why didn't I buy Zoom? Because I think he's probably doing that.
He's probably doing it right now.
I think maybe Slack was sort of well, then get me Slack.
I don't think she can answer that.
I can't answer that.
No comment?
All I can say is Zoom is my best friend. Well, but you know what? But remember though, in the very beginning of the pandemic, there were a lot of Zoom bombs happening.
Yes, there were.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
That not only happened to a lot of organizations and schools.
Yeah.
My daughter's class got Zoom bombed a couple of times.
And did you? My kids?
Yeah. And it was like uncomfortable. So
yeah.
Right.
Some of it was very uncomfortable, and some of it was like just degrading other people. It was bad.
It was bad. But they fixed it pretty quickly. And now I think all of us are saying, why didn't we jump on that boat a year ago? If only. Only. Anyway, so Mark, I'm going to continue to believe that Mark does wake up in a sweat at times, but we'll move on to Zoom. Why didn't I buy Zoom?
And the thing though is, it makes me wonder what will next year look like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this whole year, we haven't had there's been no conferences at all.
Right.
And will we go back to, how we originally were? Like, will the Adobes and Googles and Salesforce have these major conferences?
I know.
150,000 people.
Yeah. I mean, it and if they have them, is anybody going to go?
Right.
It's a great question. And I think, I was talking to my daughter over Thanksgiving, and she lives in LA, and she works for a financial services company, and they have a new real estate fund that they're doing. And she was talking about San Francisco in particular, about how the tech companies are basically telling folks, we don't want you to return to the office until, 2022. I mean, don't come back.
Right,
and so now you have people, who work for these companies saying, well, why should I live in San Francisco and pay all this money for this apartment? I can go live somewhere, so will companies like Salesforce, I guess what I'm saying is, and I know I don't expect you to answer this, but it's something interesting to think about. Will companies like Salesforce and Google, these icons of Silicon Valley, Oracle, will they personally return to masses of people in the office, or are they forever changed and forget the conferences, but will they ever expect mass numbers of employees to gather in an office, or will they say, hey, work where you want to work, and it'll be remote, and I don't know.
Work where you want to work, it'll be remote.
It's interesting, Chris. You're not wrong, and the impact that this will have on society is profound, right? Because you're talking about, up until now, you sort of had to pay the rent of an urban center. That was the cost of doing business, right? And if my rent for a 1-bedroom apartment is $4,000, well, just work it into the budget, right? Like, and which caused rates to increase, inflate, which meant that we had to charge more to the end customer for whatever it is they're buying, right? And so the idea that like, okay, so if I don't have to pay $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom studio apartment, I can get like a 12,000 square foot home on a farm, out in the middle of nowhere, and have the quality of life that I want.
Right.
How much better is that for the community? You're happier with what you do.
Yeah.
You get up and milk the chickens and collect the eggs from the cows, and you're off to the races. You feel more connected even though you're further apart. I do think that this could have a very profound impact on the structure of society.
Yeah.
Well, and the real estate market in places like San Francisco.
Right. Well, I don't know, Chris. I don't think the demand is going to go down there, or New York City or Chicago. Like, these are places that are going to be big. What's going to happen is we're going to see demand go up in smaller towns. That's my take.
I think it's going to be both. We've kind of wandered into I'm sorry, we're not asking you questions, Gilda. We're just pontificating right now. But I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I mean, I think real estate prices are already, I think if you looked at San Francisco, I think apartment prices are already dropping because a lot of people have skedaddled. Use producer Dave's favorite word. Have skedaddled already.
Right.
And
he's always saying that word, even out of context.
Use that, producer
he's
Dave.
so Southern. That's so producer David.
I'm gonna have to use that, skedaddle.
Well, it's interesting. I have friends that are, in every walk of life professionally, everything from sort of entry level all the way up to sort of managing directors of technology, all that. And they are, they're out in the middle of nowhere at their family's cabin because, man, it's a lot more friendly to them what they want to be about than, again, I got to get into downtown Seattle today to be able to accomplish my thing.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, what does downtown Seattle look like? Which is one of my favorite places in San Francisco.
It's good. Well, and you both brought something up that I'm actually, it's weird how these things kind of interconnect, right? I was just on the phone with our pastor. I think I'll be speaking on this at church in 2 weeks, how coming out of the pandemic, I think there's going to be a new normal, right? I think that this period of time where we're all kind of in this angsty waiting, like this sense of like, what's coming next? I feel like there's this concept that like, if you slow down and there's the hippie Paul, that find that vibe that, if you're a believer, you might say, that God voice. If you're, a hippie, you might just say the energy, whatever. But if you stop to hit that, there's that concept, like there's going to be something new, and we can fight that new, right? Or we can embrace it. And the new is coming, right? The new is coming. We cannot swim against that current.
Right.
So how do we as people receive that new that's coming, and do it in a way that, I don't know, it doesn't wash us away either, right?
I think we're all going to be different. I think even now when I look at myself, I'm a little bit different. Like, I used to travel a lot and I love traveling, and I felt the urge, I have to travel, I have to go somewhere, get up and go. I lived in a suitcase. And now, this pandemic has caused me and my daughter to be closer. It's changed our relationship. I'd also say, Paul, it's brought me closer to the community as a whole. I think if I was traveling as much, I wouldn't have time to get to know like the folks that you and I work with closely on the community. I don't think I would have gotten to know them as much. Like, they have been there for me. I think this has really made us become closer with one another. It's changed our perspective on things, on life. It's made us not take things for granted, right? I think before the pandemic, everybody was always moving at a really fast pace, and And now you've slowed down, you've appreciated life. You're not taking things for granted. You're not just going to sit on a plane and not wash it down. You're going to wash your hands more often. You're going to be careful, who you cough around, and, things like that. Now we took advantage of. We're certainly not going to take advantage of it,
Right.
in the years to come.
Right.
We're going to appreciate each other more. Because I think a lot of people have lost friends and families and jobs, and, it makes you step back and realize, wow, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for this or grateful for that. I just think we're all just going to just be different.
Well, and this is just to pile on what you're saying. In the midst of all of this, now we have listeners from all over the world, but don't laugh at this. Millions. But I think on top of the pandemic, we have a country we have ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from three people who I think all have pretty different and distinctive views, but all care a great deal about each other. And so it's really sort of within the context of what you're saying, I think that's a factor too, is relearning how to get along.
Yeah. How to be kind.
Right.
How to be kind with one another, because you're right. We all have different political views and different beliefs, but, and for me, I personally, I'm like, I don't care what your views are, what your beliefs are, but be kind and be respectful.
Right.
Because we're all human. Disrespecting somebody socially or bad mouthing people, like it's not worth it, right?
Right.
Just be, in the end of the day, be kind, be respectful. That's the only thing I ask from everybody. You may not like what I have to say, my views, where I stand, but just be kind to me and be respectful.
Yep.
Man, that sounds like a billboard. Chris, we talked to producer David about getting a billboard on the interstates. Be kind, be respectful, Gilda Hilaire.
But I miss my community, though.
The list of things producer David has not followed up on grows exponentially every week.
But I think you're spot on, Gilda, and I love where your head and heart is at. Again, this is the whole kindred spirit thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I also think it's changed the email community. Could you imagine? I mean, if I think about if I was a customer during the pandemic, when I worked at Athena Health,
right?
I remember I was on vacation. Oh my God, what thing? There was a semi-crisis that happened, and I remember being on vacation, sitting at the balcony in Miami working, because there was a pandemic, and we had to send out communications for, to our customers, right? I think I forgot what it was for, but, I think about the email community, developers, architects, email operations, design, decisions that had to be made. And even the data analysts and data engineers, the decisions that had to be made during COVID on whether or not to send a campaign, the messages behind the campaign, the timing of the campaign, the design of the campaign. Then you're worrying about whether or not you can have a job after you hit the send button.
Right. I mean, the number of marketers I've talked about who are like, I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow.
Right. And then going to the ESPs to say, we don't need this many messages anymore because we're cutting back on budget, right?
Right.
And you're worried about security, you're worried about all these issues. Like, I feel like we've all changed. That pandemic impacted them a lot. And then it's not just COVID, right? But there's Black Lives Matter that also happened.
I do remember that. Or it's still happening.
It's still happening. But again, decisions that had to be made during that, to send a message, not send a message, what message should we send, the tone of the message.
Do we take a stand? Do we not take a stand?
Do we take a stand? Right. And then you had the something small. I think it was the election, maybe. So yeah.
Right.
Was there an election? I don't even remember anymore.
Isn't there still an election? Are we still trying to make decisions? That also impacted the community as a whole, right? Because even if your brand is not sending anything on social media, but some brands were judged for not saying anything on social media.
Right. Right. Why do you not take a stand?
Why didn't you take a stand, right?
Because we sell hamburgers. That's why.
Nobody should care what we think.
Oh my goodness. Well, or oh my goodness, we go on for that forever. Anyway, hey, one thing, the way we always, Gilda, this has been so fun, and we always end out the show with what we like to call the lightning round. Before we do, and it's gonna come exactly like you think. It's gonna come
Ready.
hot, and it's gonna come like it's gonna sting. So, but before we do that, for folks that are listening who are engaged, I know you, and I know that if someone were to reach out and say, hey, I want to learn more about Salesforce, I want to know what it's like to be a woman or person of color in marketing, what it's like to be a single mom, what it's like to work at, like, again, my guess is anyone who reaches out to you, you will give them the same reception you've given to me.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to reach out, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So connect with you on LinkedIn. Hey, I saw you on this fantastic, amazing podcast and would love to, I have some questions for you.
Yeah, LinkedIn and Twitter.
Okay, cool. So if you like what you hear and you want to talk to Gilda some more, she's saying, please bring it. So
and see the wild hair, just,
we have that in common as well. The wild hair. So lightning round. Mr. Marriott, would you please rev up the lightning engine, please?
Yes, I will. And again, we will, Paul and I will likely dissect your answers.
Yeah, there are correct answers
on the program.
Yes, right. There's no free pass here. That's the point.
So this is the Boston sports version of the lightning round. So Boston sports version.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness.
First word, parquet.
No, you got to explain what it is. We give you a word, you give us an answer. One word, multiple words.
Pops in your head.
Right, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
first thing that top of your head. So
All
go
right.
ahead, start over, Chris.
Well, now okay. Parquet.
And it's the first word that comes to my head.
Yep.
I know the answer here.
Butter.
Butter.
Oh, I love that. That's not the right answer though, but I do love it.
And it shows, okay, next one.
We're going to go through them all. The next one.
Okay,
Okay.
next one. Green.
Apple.
I'm so excited, Chris.
I couldn't even hear that. What was the answer?
Apple.
Oh. Boston fans are already melting down. I hear that.
Right.
Third one.
Okay.
That's where she just got it. She's like, I can't. Oh.
Third one. Curse.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, the championship.
Yeah.
Fourth, deflate. Deflate.
Football. Oh, Patriots.
Yeah, that's also correct. That's the correct answer there.
Oh, she's rallying, but I think 5 may sink you. Miracle in Miami.
Miracle in Miami.
Welcome to Miami. We're
Oh.
As opposed to the Miracle on Ice. This is the Miracle in Miami.
Miracle in Miami. I think
It's okay that you.
I don't know this one. A song? Will Smith? I don't know.
No, it's in my head.
I'm not even sure Paul could answer Miracle in Miami.
It was a football catch, was it not?
It was
rally. Team came back, won.
It was Doug Flutie's pass to Phelan. I can't remember. It's Gerald Phelan.
Probably Ryan Phelan. Maybe Ryan.
I
Phelan.
would
Not
never
Ryan
get
Phelan. He
that.
might be related to Ryan Phelan. This was Gerald Phelan. And it was last play of the game, and they beat Florida, and on a miracle throw and miracle catch.
Boston College, right?
Boston College, right? Doug Flutie of Boston College. Thank you. Yes, before he became a Chicago Bear.
Oh, I would never get this.
That was the toughest one. That was the toughest
Should
one.
have asked me about pizza.
Right. Chris,
Clam
how
chowder,
dare you? Chris,
like,
how dare you?
Paul, you told me she was from Boston, a longtime Boston resident, very dialed into the sporting community there. And what did I have to go with?
No, you're good. It's good. And honestly, the answers don't really matter. They're just more fun to have a conversation. Okay.
Right.
Number one, parquet. Chris, what's the correct answer there?
Parquet is the floor of the Celtics arena.
Boston Garden.
Right. So you were thinking parquet margarine, Parkiy, which the kids watching nobody eats margarine anymore, but back in the day, parquet margarine.
Parquet butter. Parquet
That's what
butter.
I thought. So I get a half a point.
Yeah, no, we'll give you half.
Right. Because if I'd actually, if it had been spelled if the word I was reading was spelled Parkay, you would have gotten exactly right. So,
right. So we will absolutely give you a half a point on that. No question.
Green.
I know.
I was looking for monster.
I know. After you said, I said green. Yes, I remember.
Can we give her the point anyway, Chris?
No, that was a horrible answer.
No, but can we give her any credit on that? Because she knows now.
It was I completely messed up. It was after I gave my answer. I'm like, it's the Green Monsters, the Fenway mascot.
What about half a point on that, Chris?
Half a point.
Remember, Paul, I teed it up as Boston's sports version. So butter and margarine have nothing to do with sports.
So you're holding the line on 0 points on that one.
I'm holding the line on that one. Yes.
Okay, fine.
Curse. I think worth awarding a point. I think that was good.
Full point on that for sure. Chris, the curse is
Boston. That they were cursed.
Yeah, I got that right.
You did. You got a full point on that. 100%.
Right, that they were cursed after they sold the Bambino to the Yankees. That there was a curse put on the team. The Chicago Cubs also had a curse, the Billy Goat curse. Another team that was seen as a curse. So many baseball teams that stunk for decades built up a myth of a curse around the fact that they.
From 1980 to 2004.
Yep.
One of my favorite T-shirts that I gave to one of my friends who was a huge Boston fan. Would have gotten every one of these right. And
would have got them all right.
After Boston won the World Series finally, the shirt said, "I guess there was no curse. Boston just sucked for 60 years." Or 80 years. I don't remember the exact years, but that's about it. That's about it, Boston.
Deflate, Chris. Number 4, deflate.
Deflate. That you got that 100%. Deflate gate.
So we get a full point on that.
Accused, and then Miracle in Miami. I can't give any point. I mean, not a song.
But I'm gonna say, Chris, I don't think that should have the same point value.
What's the Miracle in Miami?
That should be a bonus.
What's the Miracle?
So Doug Flutie back. So this is old. This is going way back. So
old school.
So Boston College, the BC Lions, they had a quarterback who was known for being a gunslinger, but
undersized,
but short.
Undersized, big heart, but undersized.
Huge. Right. And they went down to Miami playing. I want to say the Hurricanes. That's my memory.
Yes, it was the Hurricanes. You're right. And Bernie Kosar, I believe, was the QB.
Right, because this is all super important details. Right. But it was like the last play of the game, and they're like a bajillion yards away, and he, sort of wings it up there, and it's caught. It's magic. BC wins. Miracle Miami. But again, it's like 45 years.
That should be a bonus.
I think so, Chris. So I'm just gonna give some bonus points for Gilda because she's my friend. So I've got half a point for Parquet, 0 on Green Wall, Curse.
I get 2.5.
Out of 5, I have 5.5 points for you, Gilda. So congratulations on that. Anyway, so great to have you. So fun to talk and connect. We need to do it more often.
Thanks for having me, and it's nice to meet you, Chris, and
producer
nice to meet Dave.
You. We really enjoyed you having you on your show today. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye. And we're back.
We're back.
And it's good to see that 2 of the 3 of us are getting into the holiday spirit with Christmas decorations and garb. Paul, you haven't yet caught the Christmas bug, I take it?
I don't know that it's that I haven't caught the Christmas bug. I'm just worried that, and it's probably just a lack of knowledge that somehow the Christmas bug and COVID are related. So I'm trying to stay away from that.
I can understand that, but hopefully as we get closer to the holiday, you might up your game a little bit.
Well, no, you're right, and we will up our game. There's no question. It's a fun part of the year.
Good. So I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. This is our first show since Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Okay, you heard it. There, it was very exciting.
No, we just had the kids here. We are one of those sort of families that's like, let's do everything we can do to keep kids safe as best as we can, all the things. And so we had family at home, turkey dinner, had a fantastic time together. Really, really fun. Did some home improvement stuff, all the things.
Deep fry your turkey or just regular cooking it?
We baked it, although it's a family recipe and I can't share it online on here because there's listeners worldwide that are actively looking to figure out how we bake our turkey, Chris.
Okay, well,
what about you? What did you guys do? You were down in the Alabamas.
We're down in the Alabamas. Got a fresh turkey and baked it. Had family in from out of town. Some family in from out of town, and had a really nice time. It was a little colder than we would have hoped in the second part of over the weekend here because of that the jet stream dipped way south. So you guys felt that too. I mean,
yeah, we got cold snow. Yeah, we got snow in Chattanooga, which is unusual this early in the year.
Yeah, it was. It's getting warming up a little bit back here again, but could have used a little more warm weather. What about you, producer David?
Well, the day of, I actually had 2 celebrations to attend. The first of which was responsible, but kind of bizarre. And then the second of which was not responsible, but kind of fun.
Well, okay, we tell us more.
Oh, sure. So the first one was a very, very distanced, masks on if you're not eating, in an outdoor campground area that we reserved just for Thanksgiving. And it was cool. It was great. Family's always good to see and hang out with, and it's always good to eat. But we kind of had to yell to one another. And
I know the other one, by the way. I'm going to put up on the screen what I think it was called. Can I do that for you?
I think I know what you're thinking it is, and unfortunately, well.
Thanks. We can't see that, Paul. Get it closer. Thanksgiving?
Tell us about that, Mr. Inman.
Sure. So that's less of a family tradition and more of just a close circle of friends tradition that we've tried to celebrate yearly, but this year we decided to skip it because it's what Tom Hanks would want. But every year we get together around this time of year, and just kind of it's important to remember and be thankful for Tom Hanks and his filmography. That's what the season's all about. It's a great time to get together, have a meal, enjoy some Catch Me If You Cranberries, a league of their macaroni, the Green Bean Mile.
So a lot of thoughts gone into this, it sounds like.
It grows every year until this year, but yeah, we have a lot of fun with it.
And you usually watch a Tom Hanks movie.
We usually do.
And so obviously not this year, but what previous years, what have been the movies you've watched?
So we kind of lean toward watching the ones that fewer people have seen. We could always just
Volunteers.
Yeah, Volunteers was one that would have been a possibility this year. Last year we did Joe versus the Volcano.
Also good.
What about Bachelor Party? Bachelor Party is a personal favorite of mine.
Bachelor Party's on the short list. I've never seen it, but it's in the next few years. It's coming up. It's in the
Splash. Has that ever made the list?
Splash. I watched Splash a few years ago. Maybe as a post Tom Hanksgiving.
Right.
And it's fun. I like that one. It's great.
Yeah, honestly, he's a national treasure.
Many reasons to be Tom Hanks.
Well, and when both he and I were younger, I was often said that we resembled one another. And
I see that. I absolutely see it today, Chris.
And in fact, many of his mannerisms, particularly in Bachelor Party, appear to have been lifted from me. So
And
you know, I don't want to make too many claims to that regard, but I agree with the national treasure. I think Vince Vaughn is a national treasure as well. I don't want to slight Vince
he's not
Vaughn.
calling you back, Chris. He's not calling you back.
I watched the
National Treasure doesn't call Chris Marriott back.
I watched the preview of his new movie where he body switches with as a serial killer with a young girl. It looks hilarious. It's on my short list of movies to watch in the near future.
Right, which is why you go to Vaughn's Giving every year.
Right. Vaughn's Giving, right. You know, well, and before we get too far away from producer David's description of his Thanksgiving, when I hear of campground and you know, sitting around, I think of gypsies. Are you
absolutely.
Are you a gypsy stock?
Or were there gypsies at the campground?
Or Roma, as they say. They call them Roma also.
Right, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the gypsies, that's just one side of my family.
Well, it's good to know that you honor their caravan type traditions and you know, go to the campground and sit around campfires, I imagine. There was another thing I can't remember if we've ever discussed this, producer David, but my wife brought it to my attention I believe this past week, and it may be something you know, maybe something you don't know, but we were talking about dogs in general and dachshunds. I know you have dachshunds. I have a dachshund.
Right.
Did you know? Oh, and we were also watching the Westminster Dog Show on the televisions. And but did you know that the dogs that come in the most variety of color are dachshunds?
Really? No, that is not true.
It is true.
No, Chris.
100% true. Look it up.
Basset hounds, there's more colors.
No, I'm not talking about more colors at one time on the body. I'm talking about
Border collies have more color, Chris. Greyhound, whippets.
No, absolutely not true. There's more variations of color of dachshund than any other breed. Look it up.
That's wonderful. Paul, I'm not sure why you're trying to commit dachshund erasure, but this is easy to celebrate.
Cancel.
Why are you a hater of dachshunds? They've got a sense of humor.
They do.
They hold grudges better than any other dog.
True.
They're swimmers. They're awesome swimmers. At least my Newman is.
Cute. They are super cute.
They're super cute, right? I mean, they're super cute. Anyway, I wanted to also mention for those of you who've made it this far in the program that this week is the inaugural Deliverability Summit 2020. Yep. I will be speaking at it. It's on Thursday, December 10th.
Yep.
And it runs it starts on European time and it runs well into our day. It seems to be a great event. And again, I'm at it as is previous guest of this program, Ryan Phelan, among many others. So I hope to see you there as well. And make sure you register before the event.
Makes a lot of sense to me, Chris. And honestly, selecting a hard hitter like you, I mean, if I was building a deliverability summit, I would start with how can I get Chris married on the docket?
And well, they got me, and it's brought to you by email experts, and
it means it's going to be successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start with the best. Start with the best.
Well, we were talking on the show about conferences, and again, this is a virtual conference, but again, getting in some ways it's easier to get everyone you want to speak at a virtual event because nobody has to travel, particularly this time of year. And for many of us, Paul, I don't know in the past, I know Andy has been at the Email Insider Summit, but for many of us this time of year, tomorrow we would be flying to Deer Valley for the Email Insider Summit.
Well, and I mean, that's the whole concept of conference tourism. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go to that one because it's in Deer Valley. Okay.
Stein Erickson. I mean, that was a classic. This is the first year. They haven't held it in, I don't know, 20 years or so. And that was the email conference. But again, for those of you missing that event in person, again, we have the Deliverability Summit.
Here's an alternative. Well, Chris, I'm going to show off a little bit here, and I'm curious. the oldest shirt you have in your closet, or oldest shirt that you've had, maybe that wasn't given to you. Like I have a shirt that says Seattle Supersonics World Champions 1979, 78, 79, but I don't wear it. It doesn't fit me. That was never part of the thing. But I mean, like, this was a shirt that landed in your rotation and still around.
Well, there's many shirts that would meet that definition. We have been, we may have talked about this in the past. For the past 30 years, or 30 plus years, we've had the annual Bristol Cup bowling tournament held every January. And we started commemorating that with shirts very early on. So I have a collection of those shirts that go back to the 1990s for certain.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Chris.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to postpone 2021's. You gotta prep me, and I would have put one on. You gotta prep me.
Chris, that's the thing, is I gotta keep it real. So I'm wearing a shirt that says SK, so where I went to high school, South Kitsap High School, Wrestling Camp 1988. I'm going to add one more thing for you here. You see that?
Yeah. That's
a patch to a t-shirt. My house burned down when I was in 8th grade, and I went in after the things was put out, and I grabbed this shirt. It is honestly, it's like the only thing I have from pre-house burn, and I believe it's older than producer David Inman.
Wow. Once again, we're reminded of what a Gen Y or Gen Z producer David is. Where's he a millennial? I don't get it anymore. My kids were telling me they're millennials. I thought I don't understand. What's the order, producer David?
So
boomers,
yes.
Then Gen X.
No, I don't think so, Chris, because baby boomers were like post World War II,
up to 64.
Yeah, but I don't think Gen X started in 65. I'd argue that point. I'd say it started closer to 70 to 80 is when I'd say Gen X is.
Well, then when did millennials start?
Millennials were like 2000. I mean, that was
that's where you're wrong. I think millennials were those who came of age at the millennium. You can't be
right. That's what I mean. Yes. Well, no. So Gen Y came after Gen X.
Right. So,
and then millennials came after that.
No. Producer David, here's another assignment from us to ignore, as is your want, but prepare a presentation next week.
Right.
On the progression of these cohorts.
And what's this current generation called? Do we have a name for them?
I think Gen Z, Zoomers, XYZ. I don't know. I mean,
maybe this is an opportunity for us to take over and win. Anyway, with that, I think let's call it a show.
Okay.
I thought it was a great show with Gilda. Fantastic lady. So glad she came to share.
Me too.
Chris, I'm glad you're having a great time down in Alabama, and also adopting the unneeded plurals of words for no reason, or like the Alabamas. So I appreciate that. Mr. Inman, glad you had a great Thanksgiving. Sorry it wasn't how you normally celebrate it.
No, but I'm glad you could celebrate your Gypsy heritage, even if you couldn't have the T. Hanks Thanksgiving. At least you got your Gypsy heritage in there. We all need to respect our ancestors. So well done.
Yep.
All right, folks, we'll see you next week. Hopefully Paul will be a little bit more Christmassy, and I'll be back in the Chicago area, back in my cockpit in my office. So say goodbye to Alabama for the time being, folks. And
Bye, Alabama.
Bye, Alabama.